Welcome, everyone, to the Shut Up and Work podcast. I am one of your lovely hosts, the coach. Along with me is SJ and the Riffa. And we got a great show lined up for you today. With that being said, if nobody else have anything to add, we'll go ahead and get right into it. Agreed.
So today I want to talk to y'all about Colin Kaepernick. He's been
Oh,
in the news recently
uh-oh.
because he has a new graphic novel memoir that is entitled Colin Kaepernick Changed the Game.
Mm-hmm.
And in this new memoir, he does say some things about his parents. Colin Kaepernick was adopted by a white couple, a man and a woman,
Yes.
who adopted him as a child, as a baby. And he does say some things about his parents, stating that, quote, I know my parents loved me, but there were still very problematic things that I went through. And I don't know if anybody watched the Netflix series that he did, Colin Kaepernick in Black and White. I watched it. I enjoyed it very much. Have you guys seen it?
No, I did not watch it, but
I
I
did.
will save my commentary. Go ahead, Rifa.
Okay.
I didn't see it, but I guess later on I could know Fox did a little snippet to where they're pretty much trying to downplay and play that game they always play.
Uh-oh.
Well, I enjoyed the series very much. You know, I don't follow sports like that. I know you guys do. But of course, Colin Kaepernick came onto my radar when he started the movement of kneeling during the anthem. He has paid handsomely for that choice. You know, he has not been able to work in his profession of choice for since then, for some years now. And in my opinion, it is specifically because of his choice to defy the American public and kneel during the anthem, which is, in my opinion, a respectful way to show a form of protest. But more specifically, we're just going to talk about what he's saying here. So, if you did watch the series, I know you guys didn't, but for everybody out there who did, it was glaringly obvious that there were some issues while Colin Kaepernick was growing up with his parents, while well intentioned, as a lot of people are, right? What do they say? Good intentions pave the road to hell. Um, you know, there were very few instances in the series that were displayed in the series that showed his parents trying to understand what life for him as a black man or a biracial man would be like. There were some instances where they did. So, for example, there was a time when his mother was seeking, you know, a barber or somebody in particular. She took him to get his hair braided. She took him to a black barber shop, and, you know, the barber shop was part of a larger shop. So there was clothing and accessories available there as well. And they did let him wear his hair braided for a little while. But then later on, when there was pushback from the school about his hair choice, they told him, well, you know, it's not a professional look. And when I was watching the series, my first response was, he's a kid. He doesn't need to look professional. This is what, you know, being a child is about. According to the specific rules, while he was playing baseball, according to the specific rules in his baseball league, his hair stopped above his collar. And that's all that needed to be met. The particular style of the hair didn't matter. Plus, he had friends with long hair, longer than his, who were unbothered because their hair would be considered straight and silky. So anyway, it's just very interesting to me. You know, parents are not perfect. They're human beings just like everybody else. So it's not at all unusual for children to take some issue or have some resentment or have some comments about the way that they were raised. What's particularly interesting to me about this situation in this climate is that we do need people to change. They need to change their mindsets. They need to become allies. It's not enough for only Black people to advocate for ourselves when there is a whole system in place that has been set up to destroy us. So, in this particular instance, we're talking about people who chose to raise a Black child and still kept their blinders on, purposefully kept their blinders on while raising that Black child. And there are a couple of other instances in this series as well that are really interesting. So I'm just kind of glad that Colin Kaepernick is speaking out about it. I don't think that he's doing it in a bad way. I don't think that he's being disrespectful at all to his parents. I'm sure it's hurtful, but a lot of people, a lot of white people and other people who are not Black need to wake up and realize that by ignoring issues, they are part of the problem. And they need to get on board and start making some changes within themselves and acknowledging things that are happening in the world and that they participate in so that things can really change. So, what do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Riffa.
So, from me watching, I mean, again, I didn't realize they actually had that documentary out till I was browsing through, and I saw Fox News pretty much saying that is ungrateful little brat that a white person brought him in, and they give him an awesome life, and he had more than other black people would have. Uh, Writing this book and do all this stuff to make him look bad. And so that's how I kind of like, wait a second. So I'm definitely gonna go look into it. But again, I'm not a Fox fan, but the fact that they have it up there, usually when they have something up on Fox, I want to read into and get the actual truth because most of the time they're lying about stuff anyway. So I mean, they say he's ungrateful, he doesn't care, but again, they don't realize that, sometimes when people adopt kids, they believe just because they're doing that much that's all they need to do, and they don't understand the challenges and stuff that the kids have to go through. The fact that even though, yeah, you adopted, you're getting everything you need, but there's other things prior to beside that kid or somebody need to flourish. And sometimes people just they have a blinder on because, again, hey, I'm doing good, I know I adopted a kid, and what else do you want from me? So anyway, that's all I gotta say.
Great points. Great points. Okay. So the reason I haven't watched any of his documentaries and everything, I want to go back to his football career. Okay. For a second here, to kind of explain my reasoning for it. Colin Kaepernick, of course, there was the coach coaching the 49ers, Jim Harbaugh at the time. And he wanted to run a system that was similar in college. Well, due to an injury, they had drafted Colin Kaepernick, but I think he was buried on the depth chart. He wasn't the starter. It was a guy named Alex Smith who was the starter. Well, they would bring Kaepernick in to run certain plays because of his speed, which was a smart thing to do. He could run the ball very fast from the quarterback position. All right. So with that being said, Alex Smith gets hurt. Colin Kaepernick steps up. He starts helping the team win. The following year, I think he became the starter around, I believe it was 2013. Excuse me if I'm wrong on that. But he became the full-time starter. He was helping San Francisco win. He was becoming a very popular player in the NFL. Matter of fact, as one of the faces of the NFL. Nobody was really talking about Tom Brady, even though Tom Brady was still winning. He was one of the guys that was coming up, him and Russell Wilson in Seattle. So, make a long story short, then the following year, he's the starter again. 49ers do good. They go to I think they came up a game short before going to the Super Bowl. Then the following year, I think they made it. I'm sorry. The year before, let me back up. The year before, they did make it to the Super Bowl against the Ravens, and of course, they lost that game. Then the following year, they almost make it to the Super Bowl. They lose to Seattle. Then the year after that, the team started teeter-totting. The team, I think they barely won 7 or 8 games. They started losing. So then Jim Harbaugh gets fired, the head coach that, put that loved Colin Kaepernick in his play, gets fired, takes a job in college to go coach at the University of Michigan or whatever. So now you have a new head coach that comes in. So the new head coach is looking at the whole team, which a new head coach should do, just like a new boss. A new boss is looking at, what do I have, who's out here, who's performing. So the new head coach that comes in, I think he put Colin Kaepernick out there. They started losing. So then he decides, hey, let me go and put somebody else in that can help us win. And he decides to bench Colin Kaepernick. Now, once the team is still not doing well, the guy that he replaced Colin Kaepernick with is not doing a great job. So then he decides to give the third quarterback, give him a shot, an opportunity, because they're trying to turn the team around to win. So, with that being said, I found the whole situation, I found the timing of when he started taking a knee. He didn't take a knee when he was on top, when he was the starting quarterback, the superstar, the face of the NFL, had all these endorsement deals. I thought that's when you come up and speak, because now you have a large platform. Everybody knows you, things like that. And I thought if you were going to take a stance then, that's when you take your stance. But when everything was going great and everything, the sun was shining, everything was going great, there was nothing about him wanting to take a knee for injustice or anything. Then when a new coach comes in and you're not performing and you get benched, now it's injustice. And I find that funny because when he started getting benched, then of course, what's on the line? His endorsement deals. So now he wants to take a stand. So with that being said, it's like, I was feeling it, but then in a way I was like, okay, what are you doing, or what have you done since then? Because as you stated, SJ, he knew what he had to deal with growing up, uh, with the family, with the white family, whatever, these hurdles. Why wasn't you embracing yourself once you became a grown man? Why wasn't you embracing yourself into Black culture then? You see what I'm saying? So
I do,
I
but I
just
have an answer for that.
do what?
I said, I do see what you're saying, but I have an answer to that question when you
Yeah,
finish.
yeah. I'm gonna get, and let me finish this last part, and I'm gonna let you have at it. So it was just the thing that I was kind of like, okay, what's going on? Okay, and then once he got himself out of the NFL for kneeling, because he had already lost his job as being the starting quarterback, and he got cut from the team, whatever. Then I'm like, okay, let me see what this guy's doing. Is he doing what a Jim Brown is doing? Jim Brown was always, going into neighborhoods, into poverty neighborhoods, and trying to help do organizations like these other football players. Didn't hear anything. Talked to some friends that I have out there in the Bay Area in California, in the Oakland area. Hey, Colin Kaepernick, is he doing something out here? They like, no, we don't see no Colin Kaepernick. We don't hear from him. And so anyway, make a long story short, then what is it? I think a season or two later, he gets a deal from Nike where he did the commercial, and then he got a deal from Ford or something. He got an endorsement deal, got that money, and he disappeared. And then we didn't hear nothing about him until, what was it, about a year ago, when he did that Netflix thing that you're talking about,
Hmm.
SJ. Then he comes up, and now, as you said, now he's released his memoir. So I was just kind of on the fence, because me personally, I feel when you get involved in this fight and you say you're going to get involved with injustice and stuff with black people, this is not a overnight thing. You just, once you get in, you in, and you don't walk away from it. And you have to me, you have to really show that you're down for the cause. So if somebody comes up later on and says, "Hey man, stop kneeling, man. We'll cut you a check for $5 million or whatever. Just stop doing this or whatever." You not taking that deal. The real fighters, they not taking money like that, because they know it's going to compromise of what they standing on. So that's kind of my point. So go ahead, SJ.
Okay, so my response to that is, first, in all fairness, I can't speak to this man's football career. I don't follow football,
Mm-hmm,
etc. But I do want to bring your attention to the fact that the murder of George Floyd and the murders leading up to his murder
mm-hmm,
affected everybody very differently. Now, in my personal opinion, if we had not all been inside because of the pandemic, I'm not sure that it would have had as big an impact. But I can totally understand why these events, murders of Black people being caught on video, murders committed by the police, being caught on video time and time and time again, can cause a person, it caused several people. Look at what the entire world did. Look at the protests that came about after George Floyd's murder. So to me, it's not surprising, and they may be related because we have discussed before, and I have admitted there have been many times that I have wanted to speak up about injustice, in particular racial injustice and bias in the workplace, but I have to weigh my options. Is this worth losing my job? Is this worth being labeled a problem? Is this worth whatever ramifications might come from me speaking out, as opposed to me trying to follow my career path and be successful in my career? So it is quite possible. To me, you're kind of making Colin Kaepernick out to be an opportunist. And hey, that's fair. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion.
mm-hmm,
But what I see instead is somebody who had enough. And, regardless of what his personal journey is, he is a Black man, biracial or not. That's what he's perceived as. That's what he's treated as. He does get some luxuries and privileges as an athlete. He also does get some privileges as a biracial person who's not necessarily immediately identified as Black by everybody, although because he is a celebrity, they are aware of that. But in my personal opinion, he came to a certain point where he felt like he can't take this anymore. He strategically thought about what is it that he wants to say and how he wants to say it, and then he implemented his plan, and he has suffered for it. Suffered may not be the right word. There have been consequences for it. One of the things that they delve into in the documentary, and I would say specifically, this is what the documentary was about, is that Colin Kaepernick succeeded,
mm-hmm.
succeeded in baseball far faster than he did in football. So
Yeah.
everybody kept telling him that he should be a baseball player, but he loved football. He was committed to football.
Mm-hmm,
And that's what he wanted to do, despite the fact that he had to make a choice about whether or not, he was ready to go. He could have everything he wanted through baseball, but he wanted football. And so he continued to pursue that. And I see a parallel in this situation as well. I'm sure that he thought about the fact that there are going to be ramifications for this, more so than the NFL players who have domestic violence situations, who get arrested for other activity, drinking, rape allegations, and all the rest of these other things. And
mm-hmm.
he made a choice, and these were the consequences for his choice, unfair or not.
Hey,
But as far as him being an activist, he is an activist, but his particular, everybody chooses what their cause is. So his cause may not be, education. It might not be parallel to the NAACP. It may not be, fair housing, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many choices. His cause is Black Lives Matter. His cause is the murder of Black people. And so that's what got him into the place of being ready to speak out. And
Mhm.
that's why he took the actions that he took. Now he does do some things in the community, as well as, and he lost his protests caused him to lose all of his the remaining
endorsements.
Thank you. The remaining endorsements that he had. But he does get involved in the community in terms of helping to educate people, especially youth, about what their rights are. He
Mhm.
also has gotten involved in terms of providing free autopsies for victims of people who were killed by the police, and a couple of other things as well. I mean, people do what they want to do, they do what they can do. And no person is all good or all bad, but I feel
Oh,
like
oh,
anything that you can help, anything that you contribute is a step. And you're right, he did have a huge and enormous platform being in the NFL, and I feel like he used it. He caused a real problem within the NFL, a real problem. He had, some folks president turning red in the face and spitting and ranting
right.
about his choice about America's pastime. So, you know, like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. I respect
Mhm.
that. I do see him personally. I do see him as an activist. I see him doing good things, but he's never hid the fact that he loves football. He wants to play football. He continues to want to play football, but he also feels this need. And I think all three of us feel the same calling. I definitely feel, and I haven't gotten to the place that I want to get. I
Right.
can't at this point call myself an activist because I don't have the actions to back that up. But I am empowering myself more and more every day to speak up, to get involved, and to take risks that could affect me and my livelihood by getting involved and standing up for what I believe is right.
Understood. And
Awesome.
do you think, and what I was leading to with all that, because is it a thing? Could it have been a thing that when he lost his job as the starter, which will lead to things, which it means you're going to lose money in endorsements and on the contract, because if you're not out there playing, you sit in the bench every Sunday. I'm not paying you, 20-30 million dollars to go out there and sit on the bench and drink Gatorade and hold a clipboard. Do you think he did that because maybe he felt like, well, shit, I got blackballed and he's speaking out? I don't know. And that's what I'm saying, that I'm just on the fence with. I'm not saying he's a bad person or, this and that. I'm just looking at the timing of it and how it happened. And I always look at things from a perspective of why, what is the timing of why this person did what they did. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And then I always look at the follow through. What is the current action when it's died? And keep in mind, he did this well before George Floyd was murdered. He did this way before then. He
Right, but it was after Trayvon Martin, it was after
right,
Sandra Bland, it
right,
was after Eric Garner.
right.
I'm saying that
And Michael
the
Brown
country
and
and the
several
world,
others, and also,
yes,
there are a lot of brothers and sisters out there in Oakland, California, Santa Clara, up in the Vallejo, Richmond, all those areas up in there that have been getting killed by the police left and right. And so that's where I'm coming from, is like when he was at his high, brothers and sisters been getting murdered by the police forever. That was the time to say something at that moment. But go ahead, go ahead.
I
I'm
just, I mean, I totally agree with SJ because again, there's people have certain limits. And prior to, yeah, it was like in 2016 when that situation happened. But I mean, there's over and over again where we keep having a racial situation. Then you have the president at that time pretty much promoting hatred. People just hating each other, and the white supremacists are like just out and open with what they want to do. So I think again, yeah, he had the platform, he had the money, he was the starting quarterback, but I think he got to the point to where, what, what's the point of making all this money, even if they put him on the bench? I mean, I like the guy. I didn't like watch his team that much, but I really believe, he did what he did when he thought it was the right time to do it. And again, prior to him, I mean, if we're gonna say, well, he didn't step up when it was, there was so many other people, black folks that was in position of saying things back then, they didn't either. So I think he just reached a point to where, what, this is what I got to do, what I want to do. And I mean, even ever since that, I know he's been speaking at colleges and making
Mhm.
appearances in a bunch of other places to promoting equality and stuff like that. And of course, people are asking him, hey, do you feel bad for doing for kneeling? I mean, it still is like, no, it was the right time to do it. So again, everybody's gonna have different opinion about the guy. I really believe he's an activist. He identified himself as black.
Mhm.
So again, there was just so much stuff going on in the country and all over the world to where I think it just, he got to a point of like, what, this ain't for me. I need to go a different route right now.
Okay. That's a good point. That's a good and I respect y'all points on that. And like I said, I'll see a little bit more, but understand he ain't going to them colleges speaking for free. So y'all do know that.
Oh
But
yeah, but you got to think about it too. Did Hillary Clinton was doing promotion when she was in office, and she was charging the colleges like a stupid amount of money just to go talk to them, trying to motivate
yeah,
girls to go for. But then, I mean, it's still business.
yeah.
Still
Yeah,
got to
and that,
get
and that
paid.
and that's what I'm getting at. And yeah, and I'm not making him guilty. Is I'm glad you brought that up, Rifa, is because when people go speak at colleges and stuff, they ain't going up there just because they say, oh yeah, I just want to go on the campus and speak. Yeah, they getting, like you said, they getting some money for that.
But I mean, in order for him to keep doing what he's doing, he does still need money. So to me, that's not a big deal because even though they're paying him, I'm sure they're not paying the amount of money that they would if he was still like active in the NFL and paying. But at least he's getting out there. And to me, I heard that the dude is doing a lot of stuff for like community that he's in. Again, right now, I think he just reached the point to where he said, "You know what? This is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna
Mhm.
roll that way."
Okay,
And
cool.
I would definitely rather Colin Kaepernick be out there speaking than the Kardashians and P. Davis and, and all the rest of these other people that people look to for leadership and look to
Right.
as an example. And, great. They know how to make money. They know how to sell, they know how to sell. I'm going to leave it there with dot, dot, dot. But the other thing is too, and you know what?
Selling
I,
what?
I
Hey,
don't have
hey, what
any
are they selling?
dot, dot, dot.
I know.
They're selling it, and they're selling anything and everything that is going to make them money. How about that?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're selling
Like,
black culture, but this is the whole. They're selling black culture. They are
exactly, exactly.
stealing and selling black culture.
Yeah, and hey, just come look at my butt while I'm on stage, basically.
Come look at my butt.
Yeah, I'm gonna be nice.
That I
I'm gonna be
bought.
nice. Yeah,
That I bought.
exactly. That I had plastic surgery with. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
But
but
going back to
okay,
Colin,
go ahead.
and
Uh-huh.
I can also absolutely understand, for one thing, when you're in the height of your career and everything is going well, you
Mhm.
don't really have time to be focusing on other things, especially depressing things, sad things. You see things in the news, you hear things, and you they probably bother you. You think about them. It's the same thing that I've been saying. I have not been in a position to do the things that I want to do. And even back in 2020 during the pandemic, due to
Mhm.
personal reasons, I was not able to get out there in March. I was providing care for somebody and I couldn't go out even though I
Understood.
wasn't working at that time. So when his career, hit those problems and he
Mhm.
had more time on his hands, he probably did have time to evaluate and to think. And also, I'm sure that it did occur to him, well, I already am out. So if I do this, how much worse could it be?
Yeah.
And he took that. So absolutely, You
Uh,
know, timing is something to do with all of that. But I will say I don't think that he's doing this in any way to remain relevant. I don't think that he's doing it for celebrity or for, those other
mm.
causes. I could be wrong, of course,
No, no,
but it's
no.
kind of like what we've talked about before in terms of the lesser of the two evils. So let me
Oh,
pose
no.
this question to you, coach.
Okay,
Would
go
you
ahead.
rather have somebody who is putting on a facade and championing a cause that you want to see win, even though they're not genuine, than to not have anybody championing that cause?
Well, great question, and I'm glad you went there because you mentioned something earlier, like you was talking about the NAACP, which I think they are a facade group because number one, it wasn't created originally. It wasn't created for Black people. We end up being the face and the body of it, but it was created by Jewish people, I believe, and you guys can fact check me on that. But all I'm saying is I don't have nothing personal against Colin Kaepernick. I thought he was a great football player. I was entertained when he played, when he was the starter, and what he did and what he was able to accomplish. And again, it's one of those things where I just have questions of the timing. And like I said, one of the things that I'm saying, like we talk about this show, Shut Up and Work, and how we deal with stuff in the workplace. My question was, do you think once once he got benched and he's like, look, I didn't took this team to damn near 2 Super Bowls. Do you feel like, as you guys say, that was enough? That was his breaking point to where he said, hey, I had enough. I had to deal with this BS all my life. Growing up, couldn't get my hair braided. White folks telling me this, people telling me that, people telling me this. Now you're telling me for all I've done and gave to this franchise, now you're telling me I'm not good enough to be the starter. The hell with this. So
Nah,
do you think maybe part of his protest by kneeling was a part of him yelling out, hey, F the world, because, you know, I've been dealing with this mess all my life. And this was the opportune time for him just to break out and just say, shit, I had enough of this.
I think if he was if it was that situation, he would have came up with it because to me, like just by listening to the guy, I mean, even though people might be making fun of him, is real as far as what he says. So if he was that by now, it would have been a podcast, some kind of news to where he just come out with it. I just think he just like genuinely like what, and I don't necessarily think it's the career because again, a lot of these guys, I mean, he was privileged growing up. Not to forget that it was privilege growing up because he
Right.
had stuff that we all didn't have, like normal Black folk growing up didn't have. But
Right.
I think he just generally didn't. I don't think it has nothing to do with the with the position he was in or position he was going to be in if he stayed with the team. So I mean, personally, I just think like the guy just had enough, and this is the route he wants to go with his life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was the question I'm posing. I'm saying, did all this stuff, because he may not could go back and punch somebody that called him the M word in school. He can't go back and punch the kid that said, "Hey, you're a ninja or whatever," or the teacher telling them, "Oh, you don't look professional." So that's the question that I'm posing, is that when he got benched as a player, did he, all this frustration he probably had built up, whether it was in the back or the inside or wherever, front side, top side, bottom side, it just boiled to the top, and he just said, "The hell with this. I'm gonna do what I feel now." That
I,
that that
I don't
that's
see it
the
in
question.
that way.
No, no, but what I'm saying is, listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he's probably all his life, because understand, who are most of the coaches in the NFL? And Riffa, you can answer this question. What color are most of the coaches? Professor.
Oh, I can answer this
And
question.
Yeah, and that's where I'm getting at. Do you think that was probably his breaking point? Because as you guys were saying, which I'm agreeing with what y'all were saying and explaining, he was probably all through his life, he was being told, oh no, you need to do this. You need to act this way. You can't look this way. You can't do this. No, you can't do this. And then, like I said, when he made it to the pinnacle, and then all of a sudden, now he's being told by a new coach or whoever it was, we wasn't there in the locker room, that hey, because you're doing this, you're not going to be the starter. And then he probably came out and said, you know what? I've been wanting to say these things that I've been dealing with my whole life. I've been wanting to get involved and learn about Black culture and do these things. But ever since I've been growing up, people have been telling me, no, you don't do this. No. Every time I had questions about who I am as a person, I've been told no and this and that. So, like you guys were stating, he probably hit that breaking point where he's saying, hey man, F this shit. I had enough. And this is what I'm gonna do for now on, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna demonstrate this. And he went out and did it. And that
I
I totally understand. I totally get, because you
I understand what you're saying, coach, and I understand the question that you're asking. I'm trying to answer that question for you.
okay, go ahead.
No, I don't think that was his breaking point. I think his breaking point was the same as it was for many of us. Seeing Black people murdered and caught on video. Yes, Black people have been murdered, in this country since the transatlantic slave trade. And yes, Black people used to swing from trees, strange fruit, and be dragged behind trucks. But we have not, until recently, until the last 10 years, been seeing it time after time after time after time. Just like the school shootings now. The first few times that the school shootings happened, it was a horrible tragedy. Everybody reacted to it. It was horrible. But now there are shootings, there are mass shootings every week. And people are reaching their breaking points. People are now doing mass shootings in defiance of mass shootings. So personally, based on what, and the thing is, you know him as an athlete, but based on his story, he never really said anything about how unfairly he was treated, or or being fed up with being discriminated against as a Black man. His
Oh,
story
okay.
was the story
Got
of most people, where he experienced microaggressions that as a young person he thought was weird, but he didn't really have anybody to talk to about these microaggressions. And the people that were closest to him, his family, were different than him. So to me, those two things are very separate things. Now, I will definitely say that he absolutely, when he's at the height of his career, like most of us,
it.
don't have time to be bothered with things, even if they are important to us, even if they are a priority. I'll make another parallel. When you're doing really great in your career and you're making a lot of money and you're traveling and you're able to do all the things that you want to do, is this the time when you're really setting aside your savings and setting up your financial plan and putting aside for retirement? We can ask all professional athletes, and most of them, no, it's not until something happens and you
Mhm.
have the time on your hands to sit there and think about what you should have done, what you could be doing, how you want things to change. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to be in the NFL. I mean, look at what we do. Look at what the systems in place do for the NFL athletes who are truly successful. They
Yeah.
get away with rape. They get away with murder. They are encouraged and sometimes even, forced to use drugs, to do things that they are not supposed to do in order to perform, because they're part of this big money making machine. So I don't think that he, because of his loss of status and his loss of playtime, turned to this instead out of frustration. I think that he hit frustration because this, I don't know, maybe you guys feel differently, but this shit affects me personally. It affects my
Right.
mood. It hurts.
Right.
you
And that
know? And so,
and that's what I'm trying to explain is that what I'm trying to say is not so much because of him being benched. What I'm trying to say is that like everybody has a breaking point. Everybody in this world has, you know, somebody may step on your shoe, okay? And then you may not snap. You may say, God damn it, you know, and go on about your business. Then somebody walks, bumps into you, knocks your cup of coffee out your hand. You may not snap right there. You may not. And then finally, you know, you're trying to eat your donut or your hamburger and somebody run into you again, you may snap. That's all that I'm saying. I'm saying I'm crediting him for all his stuff that he had to grow up with, this family not being able to identify or not being able to come home and tell his mom and dad, hey, I got called the N-word in school today. That's what I'm saying. I'm identifying with Colin what he's saying, and I'm trying to say that probably in that situation when he did lose his job, that might have been his breaking point to what y'all are saying, that he said, hey, I'm going to go do this now. I'm going to go speak out about this, and I've been wanting to speak out about this stuff for a long time, but I kept it inside me. That's all that I'm trying to say.
I
Sorry.
mean, it's one of those to where we cannot decide. Only he can make that decision
Correct, correct,
from
correct.
us, from me, from the outside looking in. That's the
Yes.
impression I got from him. And
Right,
again, I haven't like had any run across anything that says anything otherwise till he
right,
decides to be public with it.
right.
Hey, I encourage him to keep doing what he's doing.
Right. And that's what I'm saying too, is just that, you know, hey, that might have been he might have said, because we don't know. And as you said, Riffa, we wasn't there in the locker room. It could have been you know, from what I hear from previous professional players or previous coaches and stuff, sometimes, you know, that locker room get violent, especially with the game of football where you're already playing aggressive sport, and there's not no what I want to say, there's not no tea time talks. You know, these guys are talking noise, and we don't know if the new coach took shots at him, whatever, but something brought him to the thing that he's doing now, where he's saying, hey, I'm going to be an activist. I'm going to speak out about this. I'm tired of seeing this about black people. I'm tired of black people being judged by the way they look, by the way they dress. I'm going to come out and do this. So I get with what y'all are saying. I'm not arguing or going against it. I was just saying the timing of it. Was it because did he just finally say, hey man, I had enough of this shit and I'm gonna start talking about it, or you know, whatever in that situation. That's all I'm saying. SJ, you still alive?
I'm there. I get it.
Yeah.
I have understood what you've been saying this whole time.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So that's all. So I'm not hating on them. I just had those questions of when, you know, what made him tick, and what made him come out and just like he just said, hey, and that's with all of us. And as you explained, SJ, you know, what you're trying to do right now, you know, your your time bomb is still ticking. It haven't went bing, and the explosion comes out. My time bomb blew up in 2021 when I told y'all the story, or maybe I haven't shared this story yet, but
You have not shared this story yet.
okay, but my time bomb came right, I'm sorry, it came in 20, right as COVID was about to kick off and the country was about to shut down, because I got on to an employee who, let me just say, didn't wash their, I was happened to be in the bathroom washing my hands. They walk out of the number 2 stall, let's just call it that, and walk straight into the office. Didn't even wash their hands.
Just
So
doing shit.
yeah. So that was my time bomb. that made me say, hey, I had enough of this shit. But anyway, so no, I think that's an excellent topic. And I think who which one of you said he also released his you say he released his memoir?
He just recently got. So I'm definitely gonna try and watch and see. But he
Mhm.
released a book and also that
Yeah.
documentary. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Yes, that's why people are talking to him, talking about him like right now. It's
right.
Got
because this memoir is coming out. Yeah.
okay. Okay, so it's coming out. Okay, so that'll be interesting. So I say we should. Does any? I'm sorry. Does anybody have anything else input on this subject?
I'm just
No.
like go out there and watch it
Yeah, yeah,
and
most
decide.
definitely, most definitely, most definitely, and I agree with that. Riffa is because you he can tell the stories, and SJ kind of already alluded to a couple of them, of how he's growing up, and yes, I totally agree with that. That can be devastating for a child. You're trying to you go to school, you think you got your hair braided, and then all of a sudden the teacher or the principal, or whatever, is like, oh no, this is unacceptable. You got to cut his hair and stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but it wasn't that blatant. It was very much microaggressions, and it
Hmm.
could have gone either way because in some instances his parents did stand up for him and not allow anybody to tell him, but in other instances
Hmm.
that like, again, the depiction, this is an actor and actress depiction in a mini series basically. So, but the feeling that I got from it
Uh-huh.
was that like his parents were I kind of felt like he played his parents a little bit in this series when I saw it. But at the same time, I can understand like this is what he went through, this is what he felt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are other variables as well, such as generational things.
Yep.
I was raised by two black parents, but my two black parents were very much the same in that they were not going to allow me to do things that were going to possibly put me in a situation to be made to feel like other or that was not going to seem acceptable. I had a similar situation. I
Hmm.
got my hair done, I wore braids to school, and somebody in the school tried to tell me that that was not an acceptable hairstyle for an extracurricular activity that I was in.
Oh.
And it didn't go very far at all. I didn't even have to bring it home and discuss it because my classmates actually who were not black uh got so up in arrears that it was dropped before it even became a thing. But of course I'm
Good.
not going to ever forget that.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So yeah, it's not he's the series was not about this. The series was just about how he came to become the football player that he is, and it just
Oh, okay.
showed some of his little life experiences
Hmm.
that because this was part of his life. But the focal point wasn't race. The focal point was not that his parents were white and he was black, but it does come up because that's his experience. The main focal point of this was his dedication, his athleticism, and his determination, and him taking the chance to pursue football when he already had, what's that saying? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Something like that.
He
Yes. Yes.
already had a full ride on baseball, but he wanted football. And so he continued to pursue. And I think what he was doing was making a metaphor for his life in general. And I
Mhm.
think that that's what he came to when he decided to take that stance, start the movement, and kneel, which was that, okay, I have this, but I want this other thing. And so I'm going to try it and see what's going to happen. And yeah, it may mean that I lose everything, or it may mean that things actually change. We'll have to see what the outcome is going to be because this man still wants to play football and he's still not playing football.
Understood. All right. Do we have any more rebuttals or anything? Anything else anybody want to add to that?
I'm good.
All right. So I think it's a topic we should work on. That's what I'm gonna say.
Mhm. I think that we should work on it. We need to talk about Muhammad Ali one day. We need to talk about Naomi Osaka. We need to talk about Tiger Woods. I mean, all of these are very, very different public figures with very different choices.
Tiger doesn't consider himself black though. Okay.
Well, that's something that we can discuss at a later
Yeah,
date.
yeah, we can discuss that.
All right.
Yeah.
We can discuss his cablation behind at a later date.
That is funny. Sorry, I was about to choke. I had to mute my mic for a second. I had to get some water. Sorry. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna work on it. And as SJ said, we can go down the list of other athletes that may have been that has been in a similar situation,
You know,
especially
we got to talk about
kids.
OJ.
Oh boy, you really going down there.
He didn't
No,
do it.
but all right, don't make me laugh too hard. My allergies are still hanging around. All right, so people, if you help us out, if you love what we do, please tell a friend, tell your family member, like, share, subscribe, comment. And also, we are trying to push an audience. We are trying to get to 5,000 hopefully before the end of this year. That's our goal with this podcast. And again, we want to keep it a safe space for Black people to come in and share your thoughts and your experiences of what you had to deal with in life, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's going to school, family, just whatever, across the whole board. Because I know there's plenty of stories out there that a lot of people like us need to tell and need to share with others. Thank you all. Good night and have a great evening.